Ever since I was a teenager, I've had this saying about guilt, which is that there's no point in feeling guilty because either you learned something from it and you're not going to do it again, or you're going to continue to do it, in which case, what's the point? And that's what I want to get into today. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. I'm Ann Blackwood, your Silicon Valley Sage Sister, here to bring consciousness to the forefront of your daily life to make life a little kinder and simpler. Now, when it comes to guilt, when it comes to doing things that we feel guilty about, we can do one of two things. Either change the behavior or change the belief system around the behavior. And I get into this in a video that I just did for Patreon with any thought or any feeling, which is it you? Is it true? Is it helpful? Definitely recommend you go check that out if you have any persisting thoughts or feelings that you don't want to experience. But when it comes to guilt specifically, really, if you've learned from it and you have figured out how to not do it again, then you don't need to feel guilty about it. It happened. We must come to accept that because we cannot change that. And then from there, if you learned the lesson from it and you figured out how to not do it again, then it's time to move on. It's time to move on, because feeling guilty about it doesn't help you at all. Now, on the other hand, if you are doing it over and over and over and over again, you've got to ask yourself why. Because often we end up feeling guilty about things, not so much because we've necessarily decided we're not supposed to do it, but because we think other people have decided we're not supposed to do it, which isn't always a bad thing. But, you know, if you're still doing this behavior over and over again and you still feel guilty, you got to ask yourself at a very minimum, do I feel guilty about this because other people think I'm not supposed to be doing this? Or do I feel guilty because I feel like I'm not supposed to be doing this? And then maybe you'll realize that it doesn't matter what other people think. Maybe you'll realize that it's not such a bad thing. Or maybe you realize it is a bad thing. But either way, if you're going to continue to do it, if you can't stop yourself from doing it, guilt is not the emotion that you want to keep feeling about this particular thing, whatever it may be. So when it comes to changing your belief around this, you can do really a couple of different things. If you still really want to stop doing this thing, then figure out what it is about that thing that you were getting gratification, getting any sense of goodness from, and figure out what is the downside to doing it. And then start to figure out ways in which you can get gratification from something healthy in that same way, and figure out how you can sort of give yourself sort of a self, what's the word I'm looking for? A self-prescribed consequence, or remind yourself of the real world consequence of doing the thing, and between those two things, replacing the bad habit with a good habit that gives you the same kind of gratification, and having a reminder of the real world consequences, or if there don't appear to be any real world consequences, then giving yourself some sort of consequence will help you to stop doing these things. But feeling guilty about them, it's only useful up to a certain point. And then the continuation of feeling guilty just hinders you. It doesn't help you. What you want to do is start, like I said, figuring out why you're doing this thing, and then figure out, by being solution oriented rather than shame oriented, figure out what you can do to actually actively get yourself to stop. And you know, there's all sorts of ways. If you really don't want to stop doing the thing, you know, often if you don't want to stop doing the thing, it's because other people think it's bad, and not you yourself who think it's a bad thing. So just reminding yourself, because there are definitely appropriate situations where you feel guilty about something because other people think that it's wrong, but it's not. And so sort of wrapping your mind around the idea that it doesn't really matter what other people think. If it's actually healthy and actually helpful to you, then no one else really matters. But you do want to consider these things healthy and helpful, because if it's not healthy and it's not helpful, then you might want to consider not doing it, even if you don't get the sense that it's wrong. If many other people do think that it's wrong, it's a delicate it's a delicate balance of life, figuring out these things. It's a delicate balancing act. It's definitely a dance, figuring out these sorts of things, which is why I actively do one-on-one work with people rather than just try to make blanket courses for things, because the nuance of the situation is absolutely important when it comes to whether or not something is good for you, whether or not something is healthy, whether or not something is helpful. So you're gonna have to figure out a way to judge that. And as I like to remind people, a state of healthiness is quantifiable. Whether or not something is healthy is something that you can measure. So, you know, is it doing detriment to my body? Is it doing detriment to my mental health? You know, or is it actually making my body healthier? Is it actually making my mind healthier? You'll be able to tell. Because if you're experiencing a lot of bad emotions, probably not good for your mental health. And there's all sorts of ways to justify whether or not, you know, something is actually causing detriment to your mental health or your physical health by blaming external sources. But at the end of the day, is having this in your life causing you more stress or more happiness? Only you can be the judge of that. At least without us having a one-on-one conversation anyway. So yeah, if you're feeling large amounts of guilt about something, I want you to ask yourself, do I want to do this again? If the answer is no, have you done it multiple times? And what is the solution to not doing it again? And what have you learned from this? And if you figured out those things, how to not do it again, and what you've learned from it, well then, let yourself off the hook. Give yourself a break. Because it's happened. It's happened, and there's nothing else you can do about it except not do it again. And if you want to keep doing it, well, then it's time to evaluate why you want to do it again and what the belief system around doing it is that then causes you to be where you're at now. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you guys for joining me for another video. Don't forget to check out the links in the description. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. all sorts of amazing links in the description, including my Patreon, where, like I said, I just did that video on any sort of thought or feeling that persists. You want to ask yourself, is it you? Is it true? And is it helpful? Whole video on that over on Patreon, as well as all sorts of amazing things. We just refilmed the Module 5 of my Intuitive Lifestyle course. That is going up tonight as well. So we've completed round 3 of my Intuitive Lifestyle course, but that is now up, or will be up completely for replay. The rest of it's up for replay. Available to Ascending, Sanctuary, and Enlightening tier members. The Awakening tier is also available, and that has all sorts of amazing one-off content. Anybody who has access to the Awakening tier has access to the journal exercises, guided meditations, one-off videos on so many amazing spiritual and practical things when it comes to making your life, as I say, kinder and simpler, happier and healthier. I have the Ascending, which gives you access to everything the Awakening tier has access to, plus it has access to courses, mini courses, or the course, and the mini courses, as well as other workshops. Then I have the Sanctuary, which has access to everything the Ascending, plus the Sanctuary content. And then I have the Enlightening tier, which has access to everything the Ascending tier has access to. And it includes a once a month session with me, including the Voxer direct messaging, so we can communicate in between sessions. So many great things my Patreon has to offer. Spirituality 101, meditation, Spirituality 2.0, guided meditations, journal exercises. I'm repeating myself now. You get the picture. All sorts of great stuff going on over there. If you know that you're really ready to heal, grow, and expand your consciousness, I am still taking in one-on-one clients, and there are 3 different ways in the description in which you can contact me about that. You can either just email me, you can sign up for my free clarity call, which I will be retiring after these spots are filled. And then I have just the sign up. If you really know you're ready to heal, grow, and expand your consciousness, you can just sign up for one of my session packages right now. And then, yeah, there's dōTERRA if you want to live clean, green, amazing, chemical-free, synthetic chemical-free, anyway, life. Definitely go check out the link to dōTERRA. There's other links in there. You've heard the spiel. And as per usual, may the energies you serve you well, and let's keep making our way through.